District Attorney's Office.
The Suffolk County District Attorney speaking right now after an officer was charged with manslaughter. Let's listen in.
In Boston and Suffolk County, I authorize the charge of manslaughter against Boston Police Officer Nicholas O'Malley for the March 11th, 2026 shooting death of 39-year-old Stevenson King. You've just heard an overview of the facts that established probable cause for this charge in court moments ago. I authorize this charge against Mr. O'Malley after a thorough investigation and the application of the law to the facts and evidence in this horrible incident. I want to thank the experienced and dedicated detectives of the Boston Police Department Firearm Discharge Investigation Team for their hard work and professionalism. Their fidelity to the truth, their objectivity, and their commitment to following the evidence was singular. The residents of the city of Boston can be proud of the integrity of their work and confident in the results of their investigation. I want to offer my condolences on behalf of my office and the people of Suffolk County to the family of Mr. King. His life matters, and my office is firmly committed to seeking justice in this case. Today is just one step in the journey toward justice we'll seek for the tragic loss of Mr. King's life just last week. On March 11th, I responded to the scene of Linwood Square, or believe maybe Linwood Court in Roxbury, along with my first assistant, my chief of the homicide unit, and ADA Patrolmen, who is here in court today and stands here with me now, who is the chief of my Public Integrity Bureau, who, along with senior staff, will lead this investigation and prosecution. Over the last week, ADA Patrolmen, the experienced detectives of the Boston Police Department Fitted Unit, reviewed police-worn body camera, conducted witnesses and interviews and prepared statements, including of the 2 BPD officers involved in these tragic events, and gathered and reviewed a vast array of other relevant evidence to this case. The evidence has revealed that an unarmed carjacking by Mr. King happened earlier that night. As you heard, it was approximately 15 minutes prior to the officers locating the vehicle. Mr. King was still in the car at the time the officers located the vehicle. After Mr. King's failure to heed repeated commands by the officers, he attempted to flee in the car. Officer O'Malley fired through the driver's side of the car, striking Mr. King 3 times and killing him just as he drove away. The evidence demonstrates that Officer O'Malley fired at a moving vehicle, an action prohibited except in limited circumstances not present here, in violation of Massachusetts law and clear BPD procedures. While evidence demonstrated that Mr. King was not complying with the commands of the officers, at no time in his attempt to flee did Mr. King drive at the officers, nor were either officer in the path of Mr. King's vehicle when Officer O'Malley opened fire. The evidence shows that Officer O'Malley's decision to shoot at Mr. King and the hijacked car he operated was not justified under Massachusetts law. ADA Patrolmen stated in court today, the next step in this case is to proceed to a grand jury as required by our laws to charge this matter in Superior Court. We recognize that this matter is of great public interest. However, for the integrity of this investigation and our duty to uphold the best interests of this case and its future prosecution, we will not reveal any additional details of the facts and circumstances of this fatal shooting at this time. We are well aware of the requests that have been made for the release of body-worn camera footage in this case. So let me state now in very clear and certain terms, neither my office nor the Boston Police Department will be releasing any further evidence, including any body-worn camera footage, to the public. To do so would clearly compromise and imperil the ongoing investigation and the future prosecution of this most serious matter. As we always do in every case, we will be guided only by the facts of the law as we continue to seek accountability and justice for Mr. King, his family, and the entire community. Thank you.
It's incredibly rare to charge a Boston police officer like this.
Are you saying that police officers trying to stop a car, a suspect trying to drive away, should just let them go?
In this circumstance, that might have been prudent, yes.
It's incredibly rare for your office to charge a Boston police officer in this nature. I believe what's been quoted is 30 years ago was the last time it was done. Can you talk about what the critical detail was that made you say charges were warranted this time?
Well, again, what we have here is the unlawful killing of another. We have a situation which is a violation of Massachusetts law, a violation of Boston Police Department procedure. The evidence, as revealed to us through the investigation, is clear, and so we were left with the decision to charge manslaughter in this matter.
What stuck out on the body-worn camera video that really kind of made this case? And why not go to a grand jury?
We are going to a grand jury, and I'm not going to comment any further on the body-worn camera at this time.
And they also made a comment that this is an election year for you. Can you comment on that?
This has nothing to do with an election year. That has nothing to do with public opinion. It has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with us following the facts and the applicable law and the circumstances. That's what we're always guided by. We're never influenced by that. Not in any other case and not in this one.
DA Hayden, a police officer there in the heat of this moment, perceives that his fellow officer is in danger. But now, why don't you believe him? Why is that perception not valuable enough and you go and charge him with manslaughter?
Do you want to answer that? Okay.
Without getting further into the details of the evidence, what we have to determine in every case where an officer perceives a danger to themselves or to somebody else is whether that perception and belief is reasonable and whether the actions they take are reasonable. And in the vast majority of cases, we find that the perception and the actions were reasonable. This is that extremely unusual case, fortunately, where we do not believe that either the perception of danger, if that was his perception, or the actions he took in response were reasonable.
Any other questions? Shift to this side.
Talk about the relationship now with Boston police officers. That courtroom was filled with them. Is there going to be friction now between your office and these officers?
Well, on an individual basis, I don't know. I do know this. I know that the Boston Police Department are, in my estimation, some of the greatest law enforcement professionals in this entire country. They hold themselves to a very high standard, and they do an excellent job day in and day out. It's certainly not going to hinder my opinion or interactions with any of them. I don't have control of how other people react, but from my perspective, no effect whatsoever. We are going to continue to do our job, and we expect that the Boston Police Department is going to continue to do their job. And we're going to do everything we can, collaboratively and together, as we always do, to protect our communities and protect public safety.
Can you just explain exactly why you didn't take it to a grand jury? You chose to charge him?
Again, we are taking this matter to a grand jury. So with the circumstances here are much like many other circumstances. People are arrested and charged in district court prior to the matter going to the grand jury all the time. This case was not treated any differently than any of those other cases.
On that note, why was the decision made to arrest the officer rather than give him the chance to surrender?
In having Officer O'Malley arrested, he was treated no better or no worse than would a civilian be who was going to be charged with a serious crime. And again, no aspersions on him. We don't know him. We don't know how somebody would react. It would not be prudent simply to say, you're being charged with a criminal homicide, and just present yourself. We and the police department both agreed to do it in the quickest and safest way possible to get him before the court.
Any other questions?
Gina, can you just say what message this sends to the rest of the department in this case?
Well, you know, like I said earlier, I trust, hope, and remain to pray that this doesn't change our relationship whatsoever. That remains to be seen. I don't have control over that. Like I said, from my perspective, it won't influence anything. We still have a hall calling and a high duty we do and they do to protect and serve the public. And I have no reason to believe that this is going to hinder us from being able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look, it's a complete tragedy that we're here today. My name is Larry Calderone. I'm the president of the Patrolmen's Union here in Boston, and we shouldn't be standing here today. Attorney Ken Anderson is going to give you a brief statement, and then I'm going to continue, and then if you have questions that you want us to try and answer, we'll do the best to do so. Ken?
I just want to say that this is unprecedented. As my 35 years as a lawyer, I don't think this has ever happened other than the fact that it's an election year where there's an incident that happens 8 days later before it's vetted, it's investigated, the reports are done, the measurements are completed. They go and arrest somebody off the street who clearly is not a flight risk. They ask for $25,000 cash bail for someone who's lived every day of his life in Massachusetts, married, 2 kids, 2 young kids, not a flight risk, and they grab him off the street, they arrest him, they book him to embarrass him, to put this show on for all of you. I just think they should have taken their time, gone through this thing. They can say whatever they want about my client being able to see where his partner was because his body-worn camera could see it. But that body-worn camera does not have human adrenaline. That body-worn camera is not worried about not seeing somebody's hands. That body-worn camera isn't worried about going home safe at night. So they can say whatever they want from that body-worn camera that we're not allowed to see because of the DA's policy before the interview. But my client's perception is what matters here, and he stands by his actions. I think at the end of this case, he's going to walk away as an innocent man.
Mr. Anderson, the DA said that they arrested your clients to not show special treatment in this case. What's your response to that?
I've been involved in probably 100 or more police shootings. This is the first one anyone's ever been arrested. This is not preferential treatment. This is election year tactics.
What do you think about the fact that body-worn footage won't be released by the DA or Boston Police Department?
That it will not be released?
That's what we just heard.
I favor that. I mean, at some point, we need transparency. The police need transparency that the community can trust them. But while this is under investigation, I think it should be kept secret and let the process play out. And at some point, we'll have transparency.
Folks, one of the most important things that you need to hear from the rank and file officers that are with us and the family that was here with the officer is these men and women come to work every day to keep Boston the safest city in the country. The very freedoms that we all enjoy, you and us together, are because of these men and women behind me. And they come in every night to protect the citizens of Boston. And in a split second, they have to make a determination on what to do. We heard the DA's representative upstairs talk about the officer used verbal commands, utilized his taser, then went up the force continuum. What we're looking for, folks, is compliance. I don't hear anybody ever talking about when do we get back to the way years used to be. When a law enforcement officer comes on scene and they're giving you verbal commands and they're giving you instructions, it's a two-way street. Compliance is a must. Now, I'm not there to pass blame to the individual. It is a complete tragedy that we're here today even talking about this. It really is. But we have an individual that's no stranger to the criminal justice system. Again, I'm talking and I'm giving you facts from the DA themselves. It's an individual that's been arrested multiple times. It's an individual that knows what it is to follow verbal commands. That's a must out on the street. When an officer in uniform is asking you to see your hands, to shut the car off, to put it in park, please help them. No officer ever wants to take a life, ever wants to discharge their firearm. But we carry that piece of equipment to keep you and your family safe, and we do a very good damn job at it. The facts show it. That's why we're the safest city in America. So we're here very strongly to tell you that we back our officer, and at the end of the day, Attorney Anderson is right. The facts are going to come out. That officer was in fear of his partner. It's very easy on Monday morning to take a look at a body camera and try to determine what an officer felt from your point of view. No one here knows how it is to be a man or woman in uniform. None of you know what it is to have your life, your partner's life, or some other innocent victim, possibly their life in your hands, and have to make that determination in a split second. Very easy again on Monday morning to take a look at a body camera and say, an officer said this, his camera shows this, we disagree with that officer and how he or she felt. Yeah, that's easy. Try being the officer in 2 seconds to process all of that information, to give a verbal commands, to pull a taser, to go to his next piece of equipment, and make the right decision all the time. I guarantee you, you have no idea how that officer felt. We do. We've made that determination many, many times, and unfortunately we're here today with a tragedy. Yes.
Larry, how are the officers feeling now about doing their jobs, having seen a fellow officer get arrested so quickly?
I probably can't answer you correctly for the 50-odd officers that are standing behind me, but why wouldn't we second guess our job? How can we not go to work knowing that we gave verbal commands, we pulled the taser, we went up to use of force continuum? Our own Boston Police Commissioner is quoted in the paper saying that they gave verbal commands, the individual backed his car up multiple times, crashing into the police car and putting the officers in danger. That's our own Boston Police Commissioner. Why wouldn't we be outraged? Why wouldn't these men and women think a second thought now while they're out there protecting citizens? Every man and woman here that's a parent or a father or a relative has the right to go home at the end of the day the way they came to work, happy and healthy. And we do the very good job at that. Yes, sir.
Larry, can you just talk about the perception? The report says the car was going back and forth, trying to free itself from the curb and the cruiser. What kind of perception is that for an officer? Like, does he have to necessarily be in the path like they say he wasn't? I mean, just the fact the car's jostling around, or...
I'll be careful not to tarnish the case as it moves forward while I answer that. But every individual officer is different, and every scenario is different. Sometimes the car is backing up, and yeah, he's backing up down Dudley Street, and you're 25 feet away. You have plenty of time to move out of the way. Other times you don't. Sometimes the car is moving faster. Sometimes you're stuck in between parked vehicles. Every situation is different, so I can't answer not seeing the body camera and not being on scene that night what those officers were feeling and where they were situated, and how much danger they were in.
But is perception different for each officer?
But perception is different for each officer is where I was going. And what might terrify me, maybe this officer handles it differently. That's where I went in on the Monday morning quarterbacking. It's very easy, folks, to take a look at a body camera and try to determine that, you know what, I think that guy was standing far enough away from the car that maybe he shouldn't have thought his life was in fear. I'm here to stress to you, I've done this job. I've been a policeman for 31 years. My perception of my life being in fear is much different than the district attorney who's sitting behind a desk Monday morning watching a video.
Larry, are you claiming this is a political maneuver by Kevin Hayden?
I'm not going to take any shots at the district attorney. I'm not going to pretend that this is political in any way. I had a brief moment with the DA in the hallway. I expressed what I'm expressing to you here. It makes the job of these men and women so much more difficult to be dragged in here a few days after an incident happened, when clearly we all read the newspaper and the Boston Police Department can't adhere to the regular post-commission requirements in 90 days, 180 days, 360 days, but yet they could drag our officer in here a few days later because somebody's opinion of their body camera says they should have acted differently. Normally you don't hear me talk like this. Many of you I've had interviews with before. Is this an outrage? Absolutely it is. Should our men and women feel outraged and discouraged from doing their job like they do? Yeah, unfortunately, that's how we're feeling.
Can you talk about the suspect?
I'll grab everybody, don't worry.
Counselor Anderson in court was trying to talk about this guy who was out in 4 different open cases. Some involved guns. That was kind of dismissed by the judge, but does that play into it too, the perception?
I don't know that the officers knew that about the individual. And listen, if somebody's been arrested 19 times and they're out on bail and they're driving around the street and they're confronted by a law enforcement officer in full uniform and they're given verbal commands, please comply with those verbal commands. We're not judging anybody if we have information on them or not. We're judging them for the crime or the scene that's happened at that point in time. And if the officer's telling you to shut off the car, please shut off the car. If they're telling you to show them your hands, show them your hands. That police officer is in fear of their life just as much as the person that's being stopped or questioned might be in fear of the officer. But again, it's about compliance. It's a two-way street. Help us help you. Help us keep everybody safe, the men and women in uniform and the people that we're dealing with. Yes, miss.
What do you think of the ADA's comments and statements in court that firing his weapon endangered the other officer on scene?
That's part of my Monday morning quarterbacking, and I'm kind of irritated with it, as you can see. For the assistant district attorney to try to convince you or anybody else about how that officer felt, what that officer saw, when his body camera in his chest is what they're looking at, is preposterous to me. They can't possibly know how that police officer felt. And just because the camera shows an officer on the other side of the car with the totality of the circumstances that were taking place does not mean that the other officer actually had him in his vision. So we're in total disagreement with that, and it's upsetting for somebody else that was not there to try to add their opinion in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days later.
Maybe this is a misunderstanding, but the report is written by a police officer that says that there was probable cause that this was manslaughter. How do you respond to that? That's a police officer, not a... I understand the Monday morning quarterbacking from the DA's office, perhaps, but is this police officer? How do you characterize that, the fact that they came to that conclusion as well?
Yep, I can answer that. Those police officers came to that conclusion and wrote that report based upon the investigation of the district attorney's office that night on scene, and it is part of the protocol and the process for the police officers to document it in the report. But I guarantee you that's the opinion of the district attorney, as you heard upstairs.
This is the department that's worked hard at community policing.
I'm sorry.
This is the department that's worked hard at community policing. Are you concerned, a man did die in this situation, are you concerned about the relationship between Boston Police and the community based on this incident?
I'm not concerned about that at all. Listen, we are the poster child for community policing across the country. Let's not forget that President Obama himself said that you want to talk about community policing, look no further than the Boston Police Department. We're the best in the country, folks. There's a reason why we are the safest city in America, and it's because of these men and women and how they interact on the street. We talk to the general public. We're out there every day. The union officials that are with me, we're out there conversing with the general public. They love our men and women. I don't think it's going to hinder us at all. We're good at what we do.
Is there a message after what, seeing your officer in handcuffs in the courtroom today? Is there a message to the other officers in the Boston Police Department? Don't shoot.
I haven't heard that message, and that message I don't think is what's going to come forth. Unfortunately, there are instances where police officers are faced with life and death situations, their own or that of an innocent bystander, and that is why they carry that weapon.
How's Officer Malley doing?
How long
One second.
it's been since a Boston police officer was arrested and charged with manslaughter for an officer-involved shooting? And what does it say about this as well?
Excuse me, my apologies. I don't know the exact date, but approximately 30 years is the last memory that I have that a police officer has been arrested and charged with such a crime.
Larry, how is Officer O'Malley doing? Were you able to talk to him or his family?
His family was here today with us. They were in the courthouse. They've since left. That's a difficult question for me to answer. I can't pretend to know how Officer O'Malley feels. Looking at him, I'm sure he's depleted, and I'm sure he's second-guessing the entire incident that happened. But he's a strong individual. He has an impeccable young career that he's involved in. It's an unblemished career, and he acted courageously for what he testified to, as you heard. He did not know where his partner was. He was in fear of his partner's life. He gave multiple verbal commands. He tried to utilize his taser, but could not because of the actions of the individual. And unfortunately, we're standing here today with a tragedy and the loss of life.
Is that because the window was up?
The window was partially cracked at one point when the officer was attempting to utilize the taser, from what I understand, upstairs from the district attorney.
And that's why he couldn't use the taser, because the window was partially up.
I'm going by what the DA said. I have to be careful in the way
Are you saddened by the arrest today or outraged by the arrest?
Both. We're outraged at the way the arrest took place. You have an individual, again, with an impeccable record that volunteered to go give testimony at Fitted at the homicide division. He could have very easily volunteered to come in here and submit himself to the accusations at hand. And why are we sad on the other side? We're sad because the assistant district attorney and whomever else is involved in this investigation is jumping to conclusions, is scapegoating and utilizing this officer for whatever reason. I'm not calling it political, but to watch the department for 3 decades take their time and do thorough, lengthy investigations, and then in this case, all of a sudden, you have a couple of city councilors that want to look at the body camera and they arrest the police officer. I remember the days of Police Commissioner Bill Evans would invite city councilors upstairs, sit down and view the body camera. Total transparency. Let me say that. The union is not about not being transparent. We're about transparency, but we're about fundamental fairness. Our police officer deserves the same consideration and the same rights that any other citizen would expect and deserves. Plain and simple.
Can you
speak about just the danger of shooting at a moving vehicle, like how that factors into how we analyze this?
Unfortunately, I don't think that I can talk about that given this case because that's going to come up in the trial in this very instance.
One last question, guys. One last question.
Yep. Anybody else? Good.
Larry, Officer O'Malley left with his family already?
I'm sorry?
Did he leave with his family already?
Yes. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate the time.